This is Daily Blast Live. We're talking about what you're talking about.
You all ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
Dun, 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 dun.
This is a sham.
No.
Y'all, just stop.
Get real.
Welcome to DBL, everyone. We have the lovely Stephanie Jones, everybody. Brilliant.
It's been a bit of a minute.
It's been a second, Stephanie. We also have Albert, who we all want to give a small applause.
No one clapped, and then they felt obligated.
That was bad.
Weird.
That was really sad.
Sorry.
All right, let's get to the news, because after conducting more than 1,000 interviews and reviewing more than 140,000 documents, the House committee investigating the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol will hold a live hearing for the very first time tonight in prime time. The hearing will include new, unseen footage from that day shot by a British filmmaker who was with extremist groups that day, like the Proud Boys. We'll also hear from a Capitol police officer who was seriously injured by rioters. Now, this is the first of 6 televised hearings. Some of the biggest bombshells could include taped testimony from Trump officials like his daughter Ivanka and her husband Jared Kushner. That means we're going to see footage of their testimony. The hearing is expected to answer some key questions, including what President Trump, his friends, and staff were doing on that day. Now, the committee is reportedly working with an ABC News television executive to help produce these hearings, and most networks will carry it live, but not Fox News. Now, instead, the cable news network will air them on Fox Business. So I want to ask everybody out there, including yourselves, my co-hosts, will you be tuning in tonight, or do you think these hearings are all partisan theatrics? Don't forget, you have a voice at the show. Go to dblvote.com to weigh in. Will you be watching? I've got my popcorn. I've got my big screen, my projection. This is my jam. I've been waiting, and to start it off, I want to explain why is this in prime time. First of all, we almost had an attack on our whole government. But second, Trump, who is at the center of this, loves primetime TV. Television ratings to him are very important. Primetime TV is what he watched constantly. So this was specifically done because the Mueller investigation, we all know, was this boring book at a text Twitter fight. And they've learned their lesson, I hope, Democrats, and they're hired this James Goldston. He is the president of ABC News, Good Morning America, and Nightline as an executive producer, to make this into almost like a TV show so that the audience can get it. We can digest it.
Maybe it's going to help people like me, because I get very lost and very confused. So if it's a bit more like a talk show and I get what's going on, it makes people like me a bit more inclined to tune in.
My first question to you is, are you now more inclined to watch it, Steph, knowing it's more like that?
If I'm going to see from Ivanka, yes, because I'll be dying to see what her fashion is. And also, let's be honest, Trump always puts on a show. He puts on a show, so I'm excited to see what, I was going to say, the clown will bring.
Right.
But like the circus that will entail will be very interesting.
Yeah, so they're going to do a counter show on primetime, the Republicans and Trump and all that. But are you going to be tuning in, Al?
No, I think we just represent just the whole gamut here, because, you know, you are going to watch every second. She's going to see what Melania has on and then be like, okay, what's for dinner? Let's get some nice fish and wine. And for me, I'm going to be right in the middle of you guys. I'll watch a little bit, but I'm mostly going to do with the highlights and kind of look to, you know, kind of people that look at that and they're like, this is a section you should look at. I don't have time to really watch an entire hearing. I don't know how long that is, but it's too long for me.
Really?
How long is it going to be?
I find that really surprising to me, that you're not interested in maybe looking at what happened as a conspiracy to overthrow the government from a former president. That seems really important.
I've watched a lot of documentaries about this. I've studied this a lot.
You're sort of at the level here. Right. Okay, I do want to also let you guys know the footage will be of Ivanka and Jared, of their testimony. We might be seeing Donald Trump Jr.'s footage as well, his testimony for the American people. They also wanted to say that Adam Schiff, who is, of course, a representative, says, we want to show, quote, how close we came to losing our democracy. They've seen a ton of bombshells already, but there's a great deal more that the American people have yet to see.
I think there's a perspective here that we never get a chance to hear from, and it's sitting right next to me. Steph, what did you think? Well, I don't know if you saw it live, but what did you think just when you were watching the footage as somebody that's not from this country?
Other than it's complete pandemonium and what is happening to our world, it's absolutely insane. I mean, I know we've got our own problems with Boris. He had a vote of like confidence.
No confidence, that's right.
But he won.
He did win.
He won.
He did.
And I tell you what, I feel like he's Trump's like little brother. They're very similar. They're politically very well aligned, and he succeeded. So I'm intrigued to see like what happens. But as an outsider, I don't have the right to vote, you guys. I'm an immigrant. Like I'm here legally, just so before anyone says anything. But it is complete pandemonium, and I do think like I don't know where our world is going right now with everything that's happened with COVID. When we saw people like storming the Capitol, I feel like everyone's going a little bit.
Yes.
I don't want to use the word crazy, but like the world is getting a bit spiraling out of control here. So I'm interested to see like what do you think this is going to solve, Tori? What are we going to magically hear that's going to make people either calm down or like see some sense? Like what's going to happen?
Well, let's remember people died. Police died during this, so it's not just like, yeah, people went crazy. This was a insurrection on the very heart of our capital. I think it's everyone's patriotic duty to tune into this if a former president conspired to take over an election. That's really important.
How is he not in prison then, Tori?
That's what this is hoping to lead to. So let's see what
that's going to happen.
Probably and hopefully. That's what we're hoping to see. So let's see, our poll here is that 60% of you will be watching, 40% of you no. If you're on the fence, I just ask you to maybe tune in just to see the footage and maybe hear from someone who's really hurt on that day. It's very important to actually be a witness to what happened instead of just moving on.
Do you think it's because we're so beat up as a country?
Yes.
We saw a man murdered on television over the course of 9 minutes. We've seen a riot at our Capitol. The pandemic was a disaster in terms of how it was handled. And do you think, and then we were in our homes for 2 years. I wonder if we just as a populace are so beat up that almost the shock value is gone for any.
Absolutely.
I don't know what could happen, what footage we could see, because we've seen murders on television.
Over and over again, and I feel like Trump has got away with so much. At what point, like, is this going to really do anything?
So here's the deal. I will tell you, Jamie Raskin, who is one of the representatives of Maryland, who went to my high school, go Hoppers. Anyway, he is the head of the January 6th committee, and here's what he said. He said, not only is there incitement charges that we can bring against Trump, there's more that you're going to see. So I ask you all, if you're like, what are we going to see? What are you going to show me? I ask you to tune in. You ask for something that's not too bogged down. It's prime time. They cut it into digestible segments. So I ask you all, on both sides of the aisle, really, take a look at the actual footage. Let's watch together and see what you think. Let's not just go on what you think you saw in the highlights. Let's take a look at the footage and look at the case together.
Some people see a riot, some people see passionate Americans. And I think they already are going into that footage already with that thought.
I think there's a difference, but obviously, I think that's not passionate. That's complete insanity.
When people die, including police, that's an insurrection in my mind. Yeah, let us know what you think on YouTube. If you disagree, we'd love to hear from you. Will you be watching if you disagree? Coming up on DBL, the House takes action on gun reform after a heartbreaking day of testimony. But do the bills even have a chance to move in the Senate? And crazy videos, including a brave gas station clerk reacting to an armed robbery. Yeah, you don't want to miss this.
Wow.
Closed captioning provided by...
This June, DBL isn't holding back.
I've already spent my time and all of my sanity on trying to make you happy.
I like a little cheese on my potatoes. That wasn't going on in my head.
That's what we need more of, conversations in this country like this show. Thank you.
DBL is all new every day. Great effect on this. This is what's so interesting is they said we're trying to attract viewers who haven't seen it yet. So people just like Stephanie.
Yeah, I mean it's so interesting. Like we talk about like having an outsider's perspective. I was watching a basketball game with my girl, and she doesn't watch basketball at all. She's from Cleveland. She was like, "Is that LeBron?" I was like, "No." She is not. Merritt likes to garden and do all the other cool stuff.
I love her so much.
Yeah, she's not. But I like watching basketball or just anything that she's not into because she sees different things. She was looking at a basketball game and somebody took a charge and she was like, think about how graceful these guys are falling and like how they're almost like stunting. They're 6'10" and they're able to falling backwards, brace themselves but not break their arms. And
you know, almost balletic.
It's really interesting, but I never noticed that watching the game. I'm like, oh, he took a charge. You shouldn't have done. I'm thinking about the rules.
You're seeing it the other way.
She's looking at it just from like the aesthetic of just like, wow, what a graceful athlete.
You know what's funny is they did a test with autistic kids and they watched a scene from Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, which if you don't know is a play and a movie with Elizabeth Taylor, and they're just a lot of talking to each other. And most people go like this. They go watch one, then watch the other, then watch Liz, then watch Richard. And the autistic kids
watched the doorknob between the two that's really ornate and didn't focus on the conversation. And their lens was completely different than everyone else's lens. So it's really interesting about lenses. You like left me and I was like, let's talk to lenses.
This is what happens when you turn away for a second. We're talking
and orange
basketball.
juice
come
is
back,
a
we're talking
delicious
lenses.
drink. Yeah, right. So it's always interesting to see. So I'm hoping people like Stephanie, who, what Raskin's saying, viewers that have not seen anything, they want to attract those viewers to get a look at what happened so that we can fully piece together the conspiracy. It's more than incitement, it's conspiracy. Take a look, or not.
Republicans are going to block it. There's this
There is more heartbreaking testimony happening today on Capitol Hill about what happened in both Uvalde, Texas, and Buffalo, New York. But get this, Congress has done something. That's big. They have passed some sweeping gun control measures. Yesterday, the House of Representatives passed the Protecting Our Kids Act. Now, the bill includes raising the age to buy semi-automatic rifles, from 18 to 21. It would also establish new federal offenses for gun trafficking and selling large capacity magazines. That's ammo. Now, the bill passed largely by a party line vote, Democrats voting in support, and most Republicans voting against it. But here's the thing. Remember, we have to go to the Senate. And the thing won't become law probably because the Senate is not likely to vote or pass any of it. So does this even matter?
No. No. So what, I think that's where a lot of Americans are, Steph. And I mean, obviously you're not from here, so maybe you're not as apathetic about the process of government like we are. But I look at it like we do all these things in the House and it'd be like if, Steph, you were like, I am starving. And I go, good news, Steph. I ordered some Chinese food. And you go, when will it be here? And I go, well, there's no driver. So it's so then what's the point of any of it? There's no point. And I think the reason that Americans are just so apoplectic about our government is because we know no matter, when they were trying to, bring in Judge Jackson, and, they still didn't vote for a woman that had maybe the most impressive resume I've ever seen in my life, Harvard, Yale. And if it's like, if she's not good enough, then gun control you're not going to vote for anything. So then what is the point of any of this?
Steph, what is your response to that? And I know you do have the House of Parliament, you do have a parliamentary system in which there's fighting back and forth. Do you think that it gets stuck like this? And is British people are they apathetic to nothing moving? Or is that an American thing to you?
Well, I mean, we don't have obviously the gun issues that you have in America, which are absolutely stifling. And literally, this is tiny side note, but it does relate. So literally about 3 days ago, I went to a young boys baseball game, and there were like loads of 13-year-old kids running around, right? And in the middle of the game, we heard gunshots, and we were in the middle of a field. There were 2 very loud gunshots. We saw a car screeching, pulling away, and do you know what all the kids did? They literally, every single one of them, unprompted, all the adults were just still trying to like comprehend where is this coming from. They all just laid on the floor.
Yeah, they knew.
They just laid on the floor. They didn't run, they didn't scream, they didn't ask for help, they just laid on the floor. And it was like the most shocking thing. And not only, obviously I'm not American, I'm British, but like one of the most shocking things I've ever seen. And I just don't understand where this country is going with it. Obviously in England, we had one mass shooting in Scotland and everyone turned in their guns. I believe Americans should have the right to bear arms. I do. I think it's up to them, but I think the background checks and the security needs to be so much greater than it is.
The regulations.
The regulations.
Yeah, I agree with you.
What I don't understand is, Tory, so obviously you've got the House and the Senate and they both have to agree and it both has to pass to be a law. But at what point, how many lives, how many shootings are people going to do something? And I know that the politicians are so in bed with the IRA, it's out of control.
NRA, yeah.
NRA.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
There's a whole other group in Ireland. There's a whole other issue in Ireland that's going on, people. But literally, I just think at what point, I mean, we have celebrities. We have Matthew McConaughey giving the most moving speeches. We have people literally protesting, sending in so many different ballots and polls, everything, but nothing ever moves.
And I think that's where just the disillusionment with everything. We just sit here and go, well, then what's the point of any of this? And once
when are people going to do something?
Let me tell you something.
We'll storm
I don't think we can.
the Capitol for Trump,
right.
but kids are dying and people do nothing.
Well, let me just finish finish this. I think it is important that we find this out, that the House does this, because it's important because of all of you out there. How do you vote? Where do you vote? Well, one party is doing something. One party put together common sense gun laws, and they passed it. So they took major steps. One party is blocking it. And I think that's important for voters who might be on the fence to realize which side they want to go on this. That's important to me, in fact. I know it's, I hear your apathy.
I think they're blocking it because their voters are don't want that.
But there are independents out there, responsible gun owners, who might see this and say, one party's doing something and the other's doing nothing.
I don't know if that'll be enough, but I hope.
I hope.
We'll see.
I think it is enough.
We'll see. It's something. Coming up on DBL, a major concert gets flooded, leaving fans drenched. We'll tell you where this happened coming up next.
The Families First Coronavirus Response Act was passed in March of 2020, and it barred states from disenrolling people from Medicaid, even if they otherwise would have become ineligible. In return, states received expanded federal funding for their Medicaid programs. As federal pandemic programs start to phase out, some are wondering what's going to happen to Medicaid. Verify reader Thomas texted us asking, is Medicaid coming to an end in July? So Thomas, let's verify. Our sources are the Department of Health and Human Services, the Commonwealth Fund, a nonprofit with a focus on healthcare policy, the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, a nonpartisan research and policy institute, and the Urban Institute, a nonprofit research organization focused on advancing upward mobility and equity. We can verify, no, Medicaid coverage will not come to an end in July. But what should be ending on July 15th is the rule protecting expanded Medicaid coverage during the pandemic. But people who have Medicaid won't lose their coverage on that day. That's because HHS told states it would give them 3 months warning before ending it. And that deadline passed with no word from HHS. According to a September 2021 blog post from the Commonwealth Fund and a March 2022 blog post from the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, once the public health emergency ends, states can begin to redetermine the eligibility of people enrolled in Medicaid. HHS has given states 14 months to complete that process. A September 2021 Urban Institute report estimated that states could disenroll as many as 15 million people during that period for a number of reasons, including an increase in income or administrative issues. So no, Medicaid is not ending in July, but states will be able to redetermine your eligibility once the public health emergency ends. With your Verify, I'm Ariane Till.
Welcome back. There are a few videos going viral that have us wondering what we would do in these situations. Are we ready to play?
Yeah.
Up first, many fans braved a torrential rainstorm to see Halsey perform, but after 3 hours, the concert was canceled because the venue was flooding. 3 hours?
Jeez.
That's a long concert, isn't it?
No, I think they were waiting.
Okay. This is madness.
Yeah, I don't think they were sitting in that for 3 hours.
What do you guys, what would you do? Would you leave, or do you love Halsey enough to stay?
I definitely don't love her enough to stay.
Got it.
But she did actually go on TikTok the other day or wherever, Instagram, and she was like saying she can't release new music unless she goes viral on TikTok. So maybe God has listened to her prayers and now everyone's going to be talking about her. Not in the most popular way, but
interesting.
It's happened.
And also, you can identify your core fan base. Anybody that's still there after 3 hours, that's a fan.
Very true.
Yes.
Look at this video, though. I want to show you of water rushing down the steps and pooling at the bottom. Halsey apologized on Twitter, shared, I think it's their disappointment. I think she goes by they. I want to make sure if we could look that up with a producer, with how the venue handled this situation and announced the show would be rescheduled somewhere else.
What happens with the liability of the building on that? Because surely should they not have better rain protection or weather protection in place for their guests?
You know what? Sometimes insurance has something called act of God, you know?
Right.
Where they're like, well, if it's an act of God, that always seems so like...
That just makes it so it's out of your hands. Like,
biblical.
Hey, look, God didn't want the concert to happen. I get
it's weird. Yeah, God did it. All right, let's check this one out. A fearless gas station clerk stopped an armed robbery with an unlikely defense weapon. A warning, this video might be disturbing to some. In the video, you see a man at the counter pull out a gun, and without hesitation, the woman jumps to her right, grabs a can of bug spray, and starts spraying. The man runs out the door.
I love it.
Al?
I mean, apparently this guy's got a lot of fear of bug spray as opposed to, like, he was fearless about robbing it in what appeared to be broad daylight.
Maybe he doesn't like mosquitoes.
Maybe when he saw her reach down and grab, he thought, is she going to pull out a firearm on me?
But wouldn't you guys just let the guy rob it?
Absolutely. I think that some people react.
You never know until, yeah, exactly. You never know unless you're in that situation. Fight or flight is a real powerful thing, and you never know what you're going to do in that moment.
Wow. I think Steph would fight.
I think Steph would fight.
I think you would do that too.
I think I'd probably throw things.
No, I feel like you would
spray. I think I'd start throwing, screaming like a banshee.
Yeah, you're kind of a spy in a lot of ways. Like,
oh, I don't know about that.
I think we do. All right, let's take a look at this. 2 U.S. tourists are in trouble after damaging a world-famous site. So check out the video of them moving e-scooters down Rome's Spanish Steps.
I literally really,
I love the Spanish steps.
I'm so disgusted.
Okay, when all of a sudden the woman pushes hers down the steps, local police tracked them down, gave them fines. They've also been banned from the monument.
Should be banned from Spain.
Yes.
The incident caused more than $26,000 of damage. This is in Rome, if I'm right. Am I right with the Spanish Steps? Am I right? In Rome? Did someone answer me?
It's in Rome.
Okay,
it's
good.
in Rome.
Okay.
It's in Rome.
Steph, have you been there?
I have. It's very near the Trevi Fountain, which is like a really big famous fountain, which looks gorgeous on Instagram. And you get there and there's hordes of people and you can't get near it. But, so these are these gorgeous marble steps that are so beautiful. They're like a really historical thing. And like, oh my gosh, nothing to do with Americans, but anyone in general. Why are they pushing their scooters down the stairs? And they only got charged something like €400, and it was over 26,000 euros worth of damage. They should have been charged the whole amount. I wish they'd been locked up for the night in prison. I am furious.
You want to know something funny about the Spanish Steps? I had like a really romantic kiss there.
Really?
You did?
Yeah.
That's great.
It's a really romantic spot. No, I was studying abroad.
Oh.
I was studying abroad in Italy, and we went to Rome, and I was having this romance, and I felt like Audrey Hepburn and like Roman holiday, and we kissed, and so I agree. I think that's really horrible. I had a really nice moment.
And then what happened with that relationship?
I don't know his last name anymore.
Oh, okay.
All right, we'll be back with Deal Blessed.
Promotional consideration is brought to you by...
This is a tweet from former White House communications strategist and political commentator Mercedes Schlapp. Quote, reminder that the January 6th committee is being led by Representative Benny Thompson, who voted to overturn the 2004 election, Representative Jamie Raskin, who voted to overturn the 2016 election, and Representative Adam Schiff, who claimed for years that he had proof of Russian collusion. This particular tweet has been shared about 4,000 times. People were making similar claims following the events on January 6th. So, is it true?
We checked House voting records, watched archived video of House proceedings, and chatted with Anita Mannion, University of Missouri St. Louis political scientist. Rewinding to January 6th, 2021, before members of Congress were fleeing to safety, they were voting to certify the electoral results of the 2020 election.
It is a legal requirement, but just a formality.
It happens after every presidential election. Members of Congress can voice their objections to a certain state's electoral results during the vote. In 2016, Maryland Congressman Jamie Raskin did that.
I have an objection
to Florida's count, but then presiding Senate President Joe Biden pushed past it for procedural reasons.
Is it signed by a senator?
Not as of yet, Mr. President.
In that case, the objection cannot be entertained.
During the certification of the 2004 election, Ohio Representative Stephanie Tubbs Jones and California Senator Barbara Boxer teamed up to formally oppose the certification of Ohio's electoral votes.
This objection does not have at its root the hope or even the hint of overturning the victory of the president.
Representative Thompson did vote to support the objection to Ohio's vote. He was in the minority, though, and Ohio and the election was certified.
If you had enough votes, you could prevent the certification of the electors from a particular state. Now, they weren't close to coming to that.
So we can verify no, neither Representative Thompson nor Representative Raskin voted to overturn previous elections, just not to certify one particular state.
I would say in 2020, objecting to so many states, basically any state that was close that President Trump lost, was a different approach than has been used in the past.
As for Adam Schiff, the House Intelligence Committee chairman often called out then-President Trump for dealings he, his family, and his associates had with Russians. But whether or not it was criminal, he always said it was up to Robert Mueller to investigate.
With your Verify, I'm Abby Larico.
It's been 17 months since the January 6th Capitol riot. So why are the hearings being televised now? Let's connect the dots. Committee members have signaled that the most shocking information will be revealed over the hearings. In many ways, the proceedings will show just how much the public still cares about the attacks. Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney told CBS News, people must watch and they must understand how easily our democratic system can unravel if we don't defend it. Other congressmen have implied that the hearings could have the potential to change hearts and minds about the attack. Regardless of how folks feel about the hearings, they are highly anticipated. Tonight is the first of 6 public hearings. Several witnesses are set to testify publicly after they testified behind closed doors, including people who are close to former Vice President Mike Pence. And that is connecting the dots.
Guys, this is a really good week for really good deals. I promise you, you're going to want everything, right, Steph?
Oh, of course. Are you kidding me?
Please, check it out. She's here to back me up. Watch. Steph, what do you have for us today?
Hi, Tori. Hello, DBL Nation. You guys know I've got some great deals that you've been waiting for all week. So let's go and see what we've got. First up, we've got Secret Collagen Age-Defying Wrinkle Instant Cream.
Ooh.
So this deal includes 1 cream. So normally this is $270, Tori.
Whoa, no thank you.
Guess what?
What?
It's $35.
Oh, I love getting retinol for cheap.
Now, we've got Cuisinart Smart Power Compact Portable Blender System.
Oh, wow.
So the deal includes 1 blender base and cup, 1 chopper cup, and 4 to-go cups with lids.
Wow.
So normally this kit is $70.
Okay.
We've got 44% off, which means it's $39, which is brilliant. Look at this. It's the MagnaView hands-free LED magnifier lamp. So this deal includes 1 magnifier lamp, and we've got it available in black or white. And normally this is $40. But guess what, Tori? We've got the ultimate hobby accessory for only $15.
I can totally do that.
63%. And last product today, this is so good. We've got the Rukia 15-pound large 60 by 80-inch weighted blanket.
Oh, wow.
So this deal includes a convenient carrying tote and 1 blanket that you can get cozy in and feel all tucked up and snuggly. So this is normally $119, but guess what, Tori?
What?
Just for everyone watching here, we've got it for $39. It's saving you 67%.
Head on over to morningsave.com to snag these amazing deals at the lowest prices, or you can just scan them on the QR code on the screen right now to take you directly to these products on Morning Save's website. Thank you so much, Steph. Lots of products, and it's Father's Day coming up.
Yay.
Exactly.
It's a huge day to get it. Guys, are you excited for Father's Day?
I cannot wait.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
A new tie. We'll see you same time,
That's
same
right.
place
And a
tomorrow.
mug.
And a mug. Bye, guys. Thanks for
for having
watching.
me.
Thank you, Stephanie.